So a manhunt is now underway for a gunman who fired shots at Border Patrol agents in Chicago.
Okay, so you may have heard the news that Border Patrol agents had shots fired at them over the weekend in Chicago. However, they have caught the man, and spoiler alert, he's not an American citizen.
This is indeed an illegal alien that had a prior felony conviction for firearms. I just got off the phone with the FBI.
But here's the reality of the situation. Just because they caught the man who fired shots at Border Patrol agents, there's a whole new development happening within Chicago.
News Nation's Allie Bradley confirmed an internal alert being sent around that the Latin Kings gang is authorizing a shoot-on-sight order for any ICE agents involved in that Operation Midway Blitz that's happening in Chicago.
Yeah, so we're gonna cover that as well. Now, before we start the video, make sure to please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, and it also helps others see the videos as well. And I think people want to see what is going on in Chicago right now because it's only getting more intense. We can only get the word out if you guys like the video and share it. Thank you guys so much.
So a manhunt is now underway for a gunman who fired shots at Border Patrol agents in Chicago. And after the shooting, protesters started throwing rocks and bricks and cans of paint at Border Patrol vehicles.
So we're not going to go over every single detail that occurred in Chicago over the weekend. We already did that. I will pin a video at the end of this video so you guys can watch it. But just understand it was very chaotic, rocks were being thrown, shots were fired, and they caught the man according to Chief Bovino.
There is a suspect in custody, and according to Tobin's reporting there, you just heard, they have been able to confirm he is also an illegal alien in this country.
That's right, Sandra and John, thanks for having me. It's good to see you. This is indeed an illegal alien that had a prior felony conviction for firearms. I just got off the phone with the FBI.
Now, here's where things get interesting. The mayor of Chicago already made a statement about what happened over the weekend. We will go through his whole statement after the interview, but I just want to show you guys he shifted the blame to Homeland Security as to what happened over the weekend. In his own words, their reckless behavior and indiscriminate use of chemical agents have caused chaos and fear in our communities. But I do want to point out, the mayor made that statement before anyone found out what the facts were. He already was shifting the blame to Homeland Security. We will dig into that later. I just wanted to let you guys know that's a whole other part of this story.
Doing a fantastic job alongside ATF and Chicago Police Department to wrap this case up pretty quickly. Within 48 hours, they already have a suspect, and they're pursuing additional leads now.
Just one suspect involved, additional leads, meaning there are more?
It's possible they're looking into that, but very possible there are others.
Got it. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you just referenced, about what we know about his history and his rap sheet?
Sandra, when we talk illegal aliens in possession of a firearm, this individual should have never been walking the streets of Chicago. This is what you get with a J.B. Pritzker or a Mayor Johnson and that crazy rhetoric.
Hey, real quick, before we continue, make sure to please subscribe to my channel so I can keep you up to date with stories just like this. And if you see the QR code, that's for people watching TV. Just use your cell phone, scan the QR code. It's a lot easier to subscribe to my channel by doing it that way. Thank you guys so much. Okay, so Chief Bovino is not going to give us all the details. I mean, this is an active investigation, and Chief Bovino has been doing this long enough to know that there's most likely going to be collateral. And collateral is simply you find a criminal, and connected to that criminal are other illegal immigrants. That happens all the time. That's how the Trump administration has really been banking on the fact to boost up their numbers. Now, some people contest whether or not this is a good strategy, but that is what collateral is. Now, I want to talk about what Chief Bovino is referring to, talking about this crazy rhetoric, specifically what the mayor had to say. And I am very curious what you guys have to say, so leave your comments down below as we go through this. The recent escalation of violent federal immigration enforcement activity threatens the safety of all Chicagoans. Their reckless behavior and indiscriminate use of chemical agents have caused chaos and fear in our communities. While I do not welcome federal agents operating in this capacity, I unequivocally condemn violence directed at them. So already, in the first paragraph, and again, this is in reference to what happened over the weekend, we didn't even know what the facts were, you still have the mayor who's shifting the blame to Homeland Security, how their reckless behavior and indiscriminate use of chemical agents have caused chaos and fear in our communities. Again, these guys just got shot at, and yet the mayor is talking about how it's their fault. This part really stood out to me. I am deeply concerned by the reports by DHS of a shooting at a federal agent. So off the bat, I was like, okay, it looks like the mayor is actually concerned here. He wants to look into it. That's good. That concern is compounded by a recent federal court finding that federal immigration enforcement agents lack credibility in their descriptions of both their own conduct and that of Chicago residents. Federal authorities are investigating the incident, and I will continue to monitor it closely. So again, you can see it's sort of a sleight of hand. I am concerned what's going on, but I also do not trust anything about Homeland Security. Not only do I not trust what they're saying, I don't even trust how they talk about what happens to them in regards to Chicago residents. Now, keep in mind, recently, over the same weekend where we had shots fired at federal agents, there was an influx of pushback against federal agents. You had volunteer groups handing out thousands of whistles in order to get in the way of federal agents. So the mayor of Chicago, he's not talking about this. The mayor of Chicago is simply talking about Homeland Security not having accurate accounts of what they're doing and how they operate. But again, to give you the full context of what occurred over the weekend, not only did we have a very violent action in regards to shots fired at federal agents, you also had these volunteer groups, ICE tracking groups, who were quite literally in convoys following Homeland Security. Okay, so I thought you'd find this interesting. I actually took the mayor's entire statement and I ran it through AI. I asked AI how much of this statement is putting the blame on Homeland Security or has a negative outlook on Homeland Security. According to AI, 65% anti-DHS blame, 20% neutral oversight, and 15% anti-violence, pro-law enforcement. So you guys can leave your comments down below how you feel about this, because I was noticing through the entire statement, there seems to be this notion that Homeland Security, they're the bad guys, even though they had shots fired at them.
The fact that he has reviolated again and still has a firearm is, I tell you what, that's very concerning to us in law enforcement, especially in light of the fact that the Latin Kings have put an additional hit out on federal law enforcement. Very concerning.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the Latin Kings, and I hope you noticed Chief Bovino used the word additional. Well, the reason why he used the word additional is because it's already been reported that the Latin Kings have bounties on these agents. In fact, specifically, Chief Bovino, there was a man who was caught apparently belonging to the Latin Kings who was willing to pay up to $10,000 to take out Chief Bovino. But now we have what's called a shoot-on-sight order. That is totally separate than an organized bounty specifically going for one person. A shoot on sight implies that, hey, if you're a Latin King and you're in the area, you see Border Patrol in the middle of Operation Midway Blitz, go ahead and take him out, or try to. That's the difference here.
Allie Bradley confirmed an internal alert being sent around that the Latin Kings gang is authorizing a shoot-on-sight order for any ICE agents involved in that Operation Midway Blitz that's happening in Chicago.
That's a very key detail I think a lot of people are missing. One thing I want to point out is that the Latin Kings apparently specifically are targeting Operation Midway Blitz. They're not talking about other federal agents who are doing their own missions, but they specifically said, again, according to News Nation and according to Homeland Security, Operation Midway Blitz specifically. Which implies a lot of Border Patrol agents, because that's what we're mainly seeing with a lot of these videos and how they operate. They expose themselves out in the public.
When you hear that and to get that internal alert and to know that that is what's going on behind the scenes, what do you say to that? This new alert is following the rising trend of violence against officers. So I'm just wondering, as you're out there in the field right now, have you and your officers felt an increased danger on the job? It sounds like you have.
We have, and that's the thing. This is not just about Chicago. This is countrywide. Last 4 years, when the former administration, we had the open border, we had the attacks on law enforcement, and the federal agents, Border Patrol, ICE, sheriffs, police chiefs, we all stood together as one big team. That's not going to change now that's in the urban areas. And here's the thing, this is an attack on our democracy too, on the rule of law. What bothers me is the fact that why are we not focused on this evil? Because we're promoting and enabling these leaders that have turned their backs. They're protecting politics and party over people.
And this is where the politics seems to be seeping into these sanctuary policies. And the Trump administration has kept saying this and saying this. Specifically, Tom Homan has really said, are we really going to wait until a Border Patrol agent or ICE agent loses his life? Or are we going to figure out a way to come together so we can have the local police at least assist whenever things start to get out of hand? Because what we keep tracking on my own video, and I'm not trying to create a narrative here, I really try to be down the middle and report all sides. We keep seeing things tend to escalate so far, and then the local police are forced to help out. I mean, take a look at Portland. We have a building in the ICE building in Portland that was protested for 145 plus days in a row. We're talking about fire attacks, smashing through the windows. The president had to get involved, and then the police said, you know what, we're going to start to step in. But again, this seems to be a sanctuary city issue where the laws prevent the local police from helping out federal agents, specifically with deportation operations. Because during the event where shots were fired at federal agents, that was technically a deportation operation. So when can the police step in? When the line is crossed, or can they step in beforehand? That's for you guys to decide. Leave your comments down below.
A breaking update right now to a story that we've been reporting all afternoon. A suspect is now in custody.
Actually, here are the police helping out. Like I had mentioned, the police did help out during this operation because they had no choice. They were surrounded by protesters. Now, I don't hear the mayor of Chicago or the governor talking about this, but again, like we saw in the statement, the mayor was still shifting the blame to Homeland Security as far as what occurred during this entire day.
In connection with Saturday's shooting targeting Border Patrol agents in this mess in Chicago, DHS says he is a criminal illegal.
And there are the green hats right there, the National Lawyers Guild. I mean, I don't know how they always happen to be in these areas whenever there's chaos, but there they are again.
Alien from Mexico with a
also known as legal observers.
Prior felony. Senior correspondent Mike Tobin joins us live from Chicago with the breaking news on this. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Martha, that is the breaking development that Border Patrol agents, or federal agents, I should say, now have a suspect in custody for firing at Border Patrol agents on Saturday. The video we have is after the shots were fired. People mobbed to the scene. Chicago police showed up to control the scene. But DHS says Saturday morning, Border Patrol agents were operating in the predominantly Hispanic Little Village neighborhood when a man...
And that's the part to me that's actually extremely shocking and should concern people. The fact that shots were fired and protesters still stayed around and actually increased how many more protesters showed up. That's when rocks and bricks were thrown at these vehicles. I mean, that's just part of the story. Let me know how you feel about that.
And drove up in a Jeep, opened fire, and drove away. No one was shot, but investigators collected shell casings and video from the scene. There was a joint investigation of the FBI, ATF, and Chicago police. That suspect is from Mexico and, again, in custody.
They've got a suspect in custody, an illegal alien that has a past conviction for firearms, a past felony conviction for firearms. This suspect's in custody, and they're pursuing leads based on this suspect. It appears he was in the Jeep, and he was armed.
Wow. And I don't think people realize this. I know a local judge, federal judge, has said, look, Border Patrol, you have to have these body cameras on. One thing we do know, this operation had a helicopter flying over the agent. So these guys have way more support than people realize, or way more visual support than people realize, because I've seen a lot of critiques that Homeland Security, they need to start releasing body cam footage, start putting it out. In fact, I've said that, but I'm starting to realize they can't put everything out because they use that footage footage for leads or active investigations. Especially in today's context, Homeland Security is not messing around. If federal judges are going to blame, or the mayor and the governor are going to blame Homeland Security for being violent, I do think they're going to start firing back as far as, hey, we saw you're being violent in this footage, now we're going to prosecute you. We're already starting to see that.
Now, over the weekend, DHS also released pictures of federal vehicles that were damaged. The agency says at least 4 cars were rammed while operating over the weekend. They were also boxed in and pelted with everything from bricks to paint cans.
And remember, the mayor had said this was Homeland Security's fault because of the way that they act, and I want to make sure I get the accurate report because I don't know if I can trust them. Like, I don't know when this is ever acceptable, but to the mayor, he's made accusation after accusation, and the governor, who hasn't even made a comment on this, the mayor keeps making these accusations that ICE and Border Patrol, they're acting very aggressively.
On top of that, an alert went out to Border Patrol warning them that the leadership of the street gang, Latin Kings, has put out a directive to shoot on sight immigration officers and federal agents operating in Chicago as part of Operation Midway Blitz.
Now, disclaimer, you keep hearing about this connection of Latin Kings to this particular story. We have no evidence whatsoever there is a connection. We don't know why this man did what he did. We don't know anything. So I just want to put a disclaimer out there. There is no evidence as of right now. The illegal immigrant who used a firearm against federal agents, we don't know if he's connected to the Latin Kings. It just so happens the stories overlap, so that's why it's being reported together.
So I want to set this up with one of the Chicago aldermen. This is what he's saying about your agents. Let's play the tape.
Over on 26th and Pulaski, an armada led by Greg Bovino was turning onto 26th Street, stopped, took a man. I was in the middle of that. We were protesting peacefully when, for no reason, the Gestapo let go of a flash band.
It's a little ironic you have this man saying that Chief Bovino was in an armada when we know for a fact the reason why the local police were having to get involved is because their armada was being tracked by another armada and convoys of vehicles. In fact, if you guys want to watch, just go check my videos. I can pin it at the end of this video. We tracked a live stream of Bovino being followed by one of these convoys. So I just want to point out, it's a little ironic to shift the blame to Bovino being in an armada when he was being followed by one.
We can't have reasonable conversations when these people are referring to your agents as the Gestapo.
Yeah,
right?
that's crazy.
Yeah, Lawrence, it's really sad because all the men and women of Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, and ICE, they're out there doing their sworn law enforcement mission, right? So what I would say to the alderman is, look at the ones we arrested this weekend. There was a gentleman from Mexico that was released for 3 counts of sexual assault of a child, did his time in prison, and then they refused to turn him over to us. We have to go out 4 days later and hunt and find that guy.
I had a conversation with somebody who does not believe that this actually happens, and I think I may have swayed him, which is why I make these videos, to have a peaceful conversation. I don't think people realize this is common. People do not realize there are really bad convicted criminals in prison systems right now, but there are certain policies, depending on sanctuary status, where ICE has no idea if they're an American citizen or not. This happens a lot, which is why, again, I make these videos, because if you hate ICE, that is fine, but my question is, are you also against stuff like this? And I do think we need to have a conversation to come together and figure out what this policy is all about, because it happens a lot more than people realize. That's why Operation Midway Blitz is happening.
It's really disgusting in the fact that they keep trying to turn the tables on ICE with this crazy rhetoric that makes us out for being the bad guys for doing a law enforcement mission.
Yeah, we got the numbers to prove it now. An 8,000% increase in death threats against ICE officers, 1,000% increase in assaults on ICE officers. I mean, I got a lot of buddies in ICE and Border Patrol. It's hitting them hard now.
It is, because it's such scary times, Lawrence. That's the thing, right? You look at what happened on Saturday with the Border Patrol incident. They took fire from an unknown male in a Jeep, so they had to protect themselves then. But it didn't stop them from doing their mission, while the local police and Homeland Security investigations worked on finding that individual for the shooting.
And now they have found him. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And again, the intentions behind my videos is to really try and have a peaceful and thoughtful dialogue come together and see how we can have some peace. So everyone is welcome here. Thank you guys so much for being here. God bless, and we'll see you all later. And again, please pray for peace. We always advocate for peace. Thank you so much.